Today, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to Joe Cerutti, our motivational speaker. Since 2007, Joe has been the artistic director of the Alexandria Harmonizers, a men's barbershop chorus in the Washington, D.C. area. During his tenure, he has prepared the Harmonizers for an average of 20 performances a year, including multiple performances at the White House, the Supreme Court, Carnegie Hall, and major cities across North America and abroad, including tours in Australia, China, France, Germany, Holland, New Zealand, and the UK. He has also founded the annual Youth Harmony Festival and initiated successful outreach programs to the communities within Northern Virginia. Joe has served as judge, faculty, and clinician for several choral festivals and conductor roundtables across North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, including founding the No Borders Youth Chorus, an honor chorus of 150 young men recruited and auditioned specifically for a one-day rehearsal and concert at Carnegie Hall. Over the course of 4 years with No Borders, Joe has conducted 457 participants representing 6 countries, 43 U.S. states and Canadian provinces, 182 grade schools, colleges and universities, and 105 choral ensembles from around the world. He currently works as a full-time director of outreach for the Barbershop Harmony Society, overseeing a $1 million plus budget in support of a suite of programs called Next Generation Barbershop, supporting lifelong singing around the world, including an annual youth festival for up to 20 high school choral ensembles featuring over 1,000 voices ages 18 and under. Joe is a lifetime member of the Barbershop Harmony Society, a charter member of the National Collegiate Choral Organization, and he holds memberships in the National Association for Music Education, Chorus America, and the American Choral Directors Association, where he is currently serving on their National Standing Committee for Advocacy and Collaboration. Please join me in welcoming Joe Cerutti.
Hello, friends in Region 13. I hope that you are enjoying your virtual convention. I am excited to be with you all virtually. And I'm sure you're all wondering the same thing. We're nearing the end of a pandemic. You have your choice of anyone around the entire world to join you without any travel expenses, and you ask me. Or at least I'm thinking the same thing. Maybe we're all thinking the same thing. Kidding aside, I'm honored to have been asked to speak with you all, and I only wish that it could be in person. In addition to my role as a full-time staff member of the Barbershop Harmony Society, I'd like to speak to you from a more personal perspective as a former music educator and current chorus director. But before we dig in, I'd like us to just think for a moment. In the Western world, there are only 12 music notes to work from, but think of what the world's greatest composers and arrangers have done with just 12 notes. Similarly, there's only 7 colors in the rainbow, yet each color plays a unique role in coloring everything around us, and each note serves a purpose in creating a masterpiece. They don't have to be complicated, and what we do as singers and barbershoppers doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to have purpose. I'm certain that my life was destined to be deeply involved in barbershop harmony. I've been active in the Barbershop Harmony Society for 21 years as a quartet singer, coach, faculty, music judge, board member, and now as a staff member. I've also spent time as a director of Harmony Incorporated and as a master director in Sweet Adelines with Pride of Baltimore for 8 years. I've spent my time directing the Alexandria Harmonizers for about 14 years, and that time has influenced the purpose of my life for that time. The great coach and director and arranger in the Barbershop Harmony Society, Dr. Greg Line, affectionately calls the Alexandria Harmonizers his Pentagon Men, as we're a chapter largely made up of type A, spreadsheet-loving, active and retired military and government employees. As such, we're often fixated on knowing the what of any given detail, but the difference between what and why is something that's become a critical motivator in our development over recent years. Understanding the what of anything is really easy, but understanding the why is so much more important, because when you know your why, you have options on the outcome of your what. For instance, the Alexandria Harmonizers' why is enriching lives through vocal harmony in the greater Washington, D.C. area. But our what? That could be recruiting, performing, educating, fundraising, any of those sorts of things. When I started directing the Alexandria Harmonizers in 2007, all I ever hoped for was an international chorus medal. I can't begin to tell you the number of times I would pray before they announced the medalist call-off at the end of a competition. I would say, please, barbershop gods, if we get a medal, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to eat right. Maybe I'll exercise a little bit more. I'll even encourage my chorus to sing more polecats. But after earning a few medals, we realized that we were spending such a wealth of time and money away from our community, pursuing something they knew nothing about. And we never realized the opportunities that we had in our own community that were passing us by. We were fortunate to medal for a number of years in a row, and then we started focusing more heavily on our community, and we dropped out of the medals. When it happened initially, so many of our friends treated us like there was a death in the family. They'd say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. How are you doing?" I got to tell you, the quality of choruses in all of our barbershop organizations and quartets is getting so amazingly high. Our top groups raise the ceiling every year, and just contending for a medal anymore is a gold medal moment, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, I always feel so privileged to compete at the international level, but competition for us is just a what. It's not the why. Now, competitions will always remain a favorite experience to me and my singers because we walk into every competition experience with purpose, and that purpose exceeds anything we could earn from judges sitting in a pit. We believe that competitions and conventions are unique opportunities to nurture and strengthen lifelong connections with other singers from around our area and around the world. And every time we compete, we plan various exchanges with different chorus competitors in each of our convention rehearsals. Now, competition is what has encouraged the quality of performance to reach heights we never could have expected decades ago. So I wouldn't trade competition for anything in the world. But when a group puts competition as their primary reason for existence and then falls short of their expectations and potential, or God forbid, gets in the middle of a pandemic, it can have dramatic impact on confidence, commitment, and how we all move into the future together. The Alexandria Harmonizers are celebrating our 73rd anniversary as a chapter of the Barbershop Harmony Society. And over that time, we've had a wealth of memorable experiences, including 4 international championships and 19 chorus medals, 5 guest appearances on CBS's Kennedy Center Honors. We've entertained for the 70th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy, France. We've had 2 major world premieres with the National Philharmonic Orchestra. And we were recently guest artists for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland, the largest arts festival in the world. We had a short feature on NBC's America's Got Talent and various performances at Carnegie Hall and the White House and the Supreme Court, alongside artists like the author and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, Broadway star Kristen Chenoweth, and jazz legend Harry Connick Jr. Now, that may feel like I'm bragging a little bit, and I suppose I am a little bit, but I'm incredibly proud of my chorus. But being an established ensemble in the nation's capital, a lot of these opportunities come to us without much work. And we've been fortunate to experience some of the coolest gigs possible. But there are so many other less glamorous things that we do that have a much greater impact on our community. For close to 14 years, we've held an annual youth festival, bringing about 100 local students together to learn about barbershop harmony and share in their love of singing. More importantly, we don't only expect those educators and kids to come to us, we also go directly to them. And we serve our local music educators by touring top quartets through multiple middle and high schools, teaching thousands of students a day about the benefits of singing a cappella harmony. We supported the creation of the No Borders Youth Chorus, an honor chorus of 150 young singers from around the world, recruited and auditioned specifically for a one-day rehearsal and concert at Carnegie Hall. We use our annual shows to collaborate with various youth ensembles throughout our community, including a steel drum ensemble made up of some of the most talented inner city kids from the Washington, D.C. area. We've produced an annual competition for collegiate a cappella groups to show off their talents, and we perform to hundreds of local elementary school kids on Veterans Day to remind them of the sacrifice made by many local heroes to protect their safety. We provide a singing Valentine's program like many do, but ours is free to the local community, bringing the gift of song to veterans, the elderly, people in our at-risk communities throughout the DC area during a time that can be very lonely for many. We recently realized that just a few blocks away from where we've rehearsed for decades is a choir of about 40 African-American men. When we learned this, we got both ensembles in the same room singing for each other, and it turned into a long-lasting partnership that's co-hosted gospel festivals in our community. We've established an annual evening of choral fellowship for anyone who loves to sing. And we've recently created an integrated ensemble of men from both choruses to eventually sing at various events throughout the city. Even just before the pandemic in 2019, after the devastating mass shooting at a mosque in New Zealand, we reached out to our local Muslim community to join us for an evening in song. They in turn invited us to join their prayer service. And while I've never been to a Muslim prayer service before, I'll admit I was a bit nervous, but the first thing I heard when I entered the room was singing. Now, I couldn't understand what they were singing about, but I sure could have harmonized to it. These opportunities only highlight 20 to 30 of the services and performances that we provide annually to enrich our community and help us to better understand why we sing and how it has an impact on all of the lives involved. Experiences like these inspired us to align ourselves closer to a community choral arts organization model than just your average barbershop chorus, which is one of the main reasons I think we're going to transcend this pandemic successfully and in many ways emerge out of the pandemic better off than we started it. I think we'd all agree this has easily been one of the most universally difficult, challenging, and unusual times of our lives for all sorts of professional and personal reasons. But I think there are still many things for us to be thankful for, most especially the community that we have in our barbershop network. Life has a funny way of continuing regardless of a pandemic and other crazy distractions. And it's offered glimmers of gratitude and hope for those who are paying close attention. Gratitude that we live in a technologically advanced time where we can stay connected in a safe and physically distanced way. And hope for the opportunity to gather again and create meaningful art together. A simple action that many of us probably took for granted before the pandemic. And when we can finally come together to sing again, I expect that it'll be more fulfilling than ever before. It's not typically recommended to reflect backward on such challenging times. Usually it's best to put things like that behind us and establish a brighter path ahead. But the last year was the furthest thing from typical. And if we're going to live into the full potential and possibility of 2021, I believe it's vital for each of us to make sense of the events of the past and not simply ignore it. At the moment, many people are still fortunate to find comfort in singing during these times. However, others are finding the confidence and vulnerability required to sing without the support of others around them to be highly difficult and frustrating and unfulfilling. Regardless of what music we are or aren't able to make during these crazy times, the most important thing we can do right now is simply keep showing up for each other and provide that essential social connection and support for whoever happens to need it the most at any given time. Everyone is reacting to this pandemic in their own way, and I think that is perfectly fine. But for those reactions and more, our motivation and approach cannot be singular. Membership-focused organizations like ours need to remember to give our members permission to enjoy singing again, not in preparation for a performance or competition that's likely to be canceled or postponed, or to even improve ourselves to meet a specific score or standard, but to sing as a reminder of our primal passion for singing and its intrinsic beauty as a universal language and uniquely personal artistic outlet. We need to remind ourselves that the unique style of singing that we specialize in encourages everyone to express themselves in a way that's informed by our unique perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences. And we need to remind our community that while they may be physically isolated at the moment, they are not alone. Singing is a resource that they can rely on to get them through their isolation. And barbershop harmony can provide them the essential social connection necessary to engage with others and benefit from the joy of singing. I've been fortunate to visit now 118 choruses, regions, districts virtually during the pandemic. And many of them have asked me how they should be serving their members during difficult times. And my answer's been, don't serve your members, serve your community, and you'll end up serving your members. You see, we viewed ourselves as performance ensembles for years, meaning we sing on stage and perform at you, and you sit in the audience and applaud at us. That performance ensemble identity that we've relied on for decades was stripped away from us a little over a year ago and is still only on the horizon of returning in the near future. It's caused many of our singing communities and members to feel hopeless and get caught in survival mode. So instead of just waiting around for that performance ensemble identity to be relevant again, we have an enormous opportunity to pivot that identity and be viewed as a community asset. We've always specialized in the benefits of singing together in harmony, and when at our best, we know it can improve relationships and build understanding and support community, but we've never been pressed to articulate it outside of our own membership. We need to stop and really consider who in our community is in need of those benefits. Right now, the answer is everyone. They just don't all know it yet. So our job is to remind our communities that we exist as an asset that they can rely on to interact with. I believe it's actually easier for us to do now virtually than it's ever been before, because we could be providing a service to our community that is accessible to all people. A network where people can join to be seen and heard, where they can express themselves through song. And who cares right now if they can match pitch or sing in tune, because we're all on mute anyway. The thing is, they have a place where they can belong during a time where no one feels like they belong anywhere. This shift in mindset has to start with us, our choruses, our quartets, our members. Unfortunately, I've lost 3 of my chorus members during the pandemic, and while the experience has been devastating and incredibly unfortunate, I still believe everything we've experienced throughout this pandemic has value and will hold a special place in the journey of those who embrace it and respond creatively. While I know we haven't been able to do things the way we've always done them, the most creative of us are finding ways to do things we've never been able to do before. And when this pandemic is over, there might not be many positive things to say about it, but I believe that as time goes by, we'll remember the creativity we used and the technology that we embraced. And I believe this pandemic will eventually be looked at as a renaissance for organizations like ours that haven't evolved for decades until now. Like ripping off a Band-Aid, it's been incredibly painful, unfortunate, and in many ways scary, but I believe the future of barbershop is bright. And we will eventually realize that we were all better off for it in a number of ways. An aspiring writer named Leslie Dwight wrote a poem that went virtual recently called "What If 2020 Isn't Canceled?" Now, I won't bore you any further with reading the poem, but I will share a brief quote. In it, she says, "What if 2020 is actually the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow." So friends, I ask you, what if 2020 isn't something to be forgotten, but rather the most important year of them all? Singing together is more important today than it's ever been, not just as entertainment, but as a mission to make our community better, to provide a positive example to younger generations that have been deprived of what we specialize in for close to a year now. There are plenty of things more important than singing, of course: family, work, health, mental health. And we know singing has been proven to improve all of those things and more. Most people believe that what we do is just fringe entertainment, but friends, singing together has significant value. Singing alone has wonderful health benefits, but when you sing together, not to win a contest, but when you simply harmonize with others, you create something that is much more than the sum of the parts. Musical excellence is, of course, at the heart of it for some ensembles. But even if a choir is not the greatest in the world, the fact that they're meeting together has social communal value. Because any group of people pouring their hearts and souls in harmony is an emblem for what we need more of in this world. We just need to focus it outside our little barbershop bubble. I think you'd all agree everyone is tired of hearing about all of the awful things going on lately. But for some reason, you never hear that they happened by someone who just left their chorus rehearsal. We're quick to blame the government and others on social media, but we don't realize that if we keep criticizing and competing against each other, our small little barbershop bubble is just going to continue shrinking. We've all had barbershop experiences where we think, if we could only spend one whole month together like this, or If everyone participated in events like this, there would be less problems in the world. But I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Our fortunate experiences are our responsibility to take this culture of listening and learning and accepting beyond the walls of our rehearsals and performances, straight to the people in our community who need it the most. And we can have an impact because the music we create does make a difference. But we can't wait for our community to just come to us. We have to be relevant and accessible to the outside world and live it on a weekly basis. So our music and our communication matches that very purpose, because understanding and believing in these things has exponential effects on the greater good. Each of you at this virtual convention has a potential for greatness that increases with every act of harmony, offering many opportunities to make life better for people in communities around the world. And this is a noble calling. So I encourage each and every one of you to take a moment and reflect on your mindset and renew your commitment to be united in purity of purpose to continue uniting people through harmony. I'm grateful for your dedication to the propagation of the barbershop art form in general, and I am even more grateful to your families for being tolerant of the time and effort it takes to do something that makes a difference in the lives that are attending this virtual convention, and more importantly, everywhere you share your music. So thank you so much for having me. It was an honor and privilege. I hope you enjoy the rest of your virtual convention. Stay safe, keep singing, and I look forward to an opportunity to see you all in person in the future.